bruh, 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 bruh.
So this has been a topic on my mind for the past few days, and looking at the landscape of the NBA nowadays, I think it's time to officially say that the turnovers lost its meaning in basketball. Like I've been looking at the recent slate of games. Like yesterday, LeBron had 11 turnovers. Luca the other day had like six. Ja tonight had seven. Giannis had seven. Cade had seven. Like three dudes that are like the number one options of their team had seven turnovers tonight, and not to mention like a whole bunch of his other players that just have high turnover numbers. And the reason I say like the reason why the turnovers like lost its meaning in basketball is because back then the turnover was literally viewed so negatively. Like if you had a like if you got a lot of turnovers, you're viewed as like, oh, well you can't play make because you have a lot of turnovers. And that notion's like I've noticed that notion's has changed over the years. And I think what plays a part into it is because like I guess the NBA today, we have like the most high usage players that we've ever seen in the history of the league. Like we've had Rockets James Harden, we have Luka Doncic currently, we've had LeBron for 21 years, and just a lot of other guys that just create a whole bunch of offense for their team. But I kind of hate like the double standard because even now to this day, Russell Westbrook still gets a lot of slack for having a high turnover count. And you look around the league, there's already dudes that average the same amount, if not more, turnovers than Russell Westbrook currently. And nowadays they're not really like bagging on Westbrook for it per se, but like every now and then they'll be like, oh well, he had like 7 turnovers and that's why they lost the game and blah, blah, blah. And like literally today, like I hear a mention of LeBron having 11 turnovers yesterday. It was just, well, the Lakers did win, but it was just like, oh, like just another good LeBron performance. Or like tonight, Giannis literally had 7 turnovers. Cade had 7 turnovers. And he had like 12 assists. And I think that's the thing. I think that's the thing people realize is that, you're going to rack up a lot of turnovers if you have a lot of assists. Not all the time necessarily, but, it's expected that you're going to, like, if you get 12 assists, you're probably going to have, like, a couple turnovers to go with it. I'd say the second reason that turnovers, like, I guess, lost its value in the NBA, too, is because I'd say there's like good turnovers and there's bad turnovers, and a lot of times the guys that are having high turnover games, they usually have a lot of good turnovers. Now, let me clarify what I mean by a good turnover. I'd say a good turnover is when a dude just fumbles the ball, like you pass it to him on like a back door or a cut, and he just loses the ball, and that literally counts towards your turnover and not his turnover. So a lot of guys in the NBA that I'd say have good turnovers, probably Jokic. Sometimes someone will just fumble the ball, or he sees a play and the dude doesn't cut, and then he ends up just throwing the ball out of bounds. Another person that has good turnovers most of the time, LeBron. LeBron, he's a pretty hard player to play with because, he's had the ball in his hands for his entire career. So, offensively resolves around LeBron James. So, you have to get used to playing with him. And some of the passes he makes is already just quick. Like, you're going to fumble the ball the majority of the time if you don't have chemistry with LeBron. Another guy that I throw into the conversation that has, like, pretty good turnovers, Russell Westbrook. Like, a lot of the times when he gets turnovers, it's literally because he's a very good playmaker. I'll give him that. He sees like the play before it happens, but dudes just don't read him on the play. So it's literally like similar to Jokic. Like he'll just like throw the ball out of bounds, but he wants to make like the proper pass. So I'd say that's like another reason why turnovers aren't really viewed like that negatively anymore. And it's simply because people I guess, acknowledge that there's good turnovers and there's bad turnovers. And more often than not, people get good turnovers. And it really puts in perspective how good guys like Chris Paul or like Mike Conley or even Tyus Jones, like these guys, they hardly get turnovers. Like Chris Paul, yeah, like 2 tonight, but overall in his career, Chris Paul is not a turnover prone guy. Like it really goes to show like how like good they are at mastering the ability to keep the ball in their hands for that long. And even guys like Draymond Green, I know he's not the main. Well, actually, no. Let me rephrase that. He's the primary playmaker on the Warriors, and that's actually a legitimate skill he has. He's able to run an offense and avoid turnovers as much as possible, despite not being like the main option on offense. He's he just runs the Warriors. He's the primary playmaker for the Warriors offense. So yeah, that's just a quick little spiel I have. The turnover, I really don't think it's like that like big of a deal anymore in the NBA. Like I think the notion on the turnover has changed now that we have all these high usage rate offensive guys in the league that literally just create offense for their teams. So yeah.